Hello class, weekly update 11. We're in the home stretch, so we have, I think, like a month, right? A month to the final exam. And last few chapters of the final journal. You guys did a great job this week. I know chapter 2 is, that one's again pretty dense, so you have another half of it this week coming up. Really nice job on the first half. And so we'll go through that. And again, please keep in mind that as you're doing these homeworks, again, all of this is preparing you for the final exam. So everything that we're doing, it's all meant to just make that final easy breezy. You know the concepts, you know your key terms, you know your vocabulary, the formulas, and you'll be ready to go. So if you understand those concepts, and we'll as we get closer, we'll talk more and more about the final and details of that. But just keep that in mind, like when you're feeling frustrated with it, like, okay, well, this is time spent now, so I save myself time later. Okay, we had 3 things this week. So we had discussions, activities, and calculations. So let's quickly go through the discussions. Thank you for that. Although nice job on your individual, but I don't think there was a single person that followed the instructions to reply to your classmates' posts, right? I wanted you to go back and read them. And this is why I spend some time summarizing, because I don't think you guys are getting the value of having that collaborative community, reading through those. So I really liked several of these. I'll have some shout outs from many folks. So Calvin talked about the level of frustration and then the reward. So like the higher the frustration, then the higher the reward. And I think Phoebe also mentioned this, like, because everything's getting tougher and tougher as you go through higher levels of math, when she gets something, she feels like she's on cloud 9. And Calvin also mentioned the value of being stumped. And I think that is a great life lesson. Like, that's something a math class can teach you, being stumped, but persisting and continuing with it. It's worth it. And Aaron talked a good bit about persistence and time spent with a problem, and that can result in success. And that's true. If you just give up early, well, you'll never know if you could have done it. Let's see. Grace and Sharika both talked about hate-love relationship and how sometimes it feels like a roller coaster. And I can definitely relate to that. When I was working on my PhD, my dissertation at NC State, I probably spent 3.5 years working on this one problem. And there was a period of a year where I was getting close and I was going to have to graduate, and didn't quite have exactly what I needed. I needed to go from here to here. And there was a big gap and a jump, and I just couldn't. I felt like I was just beating my head against the wall for a year, but eventually got it. So that roller coaster, is common. Like, people do feel that, and there's the pros and cons of that, I guess. Trip had a neat little analogy talking about, like, well, this class doesn't, is this hard? Because he felt like a boiling frog. You put them in water and they don't jump out immediately because you're slowly increasing the temperature and they just keep adjusting. And so he's felt like through math, he just keeps adjusting it. People say it's getting harder, but he doesn't really feel it because we're just incrementally getting tougher. It's a nice analogy. I like that. Lauren had some sort of ideas about the future of math education. She thinks like new math, and we're always discovering new fields. Think about 30, 40 years ago, computer science was a new field. Now we got data science. But even within mathematics itself, people are inventing and discovering new stuff. That's what us math professors, that's part of our job, is to do new research. And she just has a prediction that that's going to require more technology. And I think that's probably a very wise and accurate prediction, that you have to partner with to solve the tougher and tougher problems. So mathematicians are often working with computer scientists and data scientists now. Let's see. Oh, Madeline talked similar. Her sounded a lot like Andrew Wiles, the Fields Medalist winner you saw from Oz last problem, how she's in a dark room and then she can turn on a flashlight and just narrowing in one part of that, but she realized that math is much broader and we're just getting a limited perspective as we go. And that's true. You continue with math, hopefully many of you will get your BS in math, maybe some of you get your MS or your PhD, and you're getting that spotlight shown on more areas of math. But then when you go for your PhD, you're really just focusing that on particular area of interest. Oh, and then Chris and Kendra just talk about, to them, it's like solving a puzzle. I definitely got that feel throughout my math career. That's fun when you change a challenge problem and say, this is just a puzzle, right? That puts you in a different mindset. both Aaron and Grace talked about this issue of like sitting on a problem for a while. Like sometimes you got to sleep on it. Sometimes it's a couple days of just thinking on it, and then giving it that attention and devotion, it'll make progress. And then Jake had a nice discussion about how for him, math has been a comfort. It's been something from the beginning he's always been very good at. He's been able to help people with it. So if you're one of the few folks here in 221 feeling like you're falling behind, Jake's a person to reach out to. Okay, then for the activities, let's share the screen like usual and go into your Oaks. Usual place. So we are in module 6, samples and examples. We're in week 1. And lots of folks to shout out for. So Calvin, Noah both times, James, Madeline, Phoebe, Haley, Grace, and Grant. All right, so check out these folks, and I'll just briefly mention some aspects. Maybe we'll share the screen for a few of these guys. The cable charging, I thought Lauren and Kyla had some nice pictures of that. Calvin had a really nice display of the secants converging to the tangent on that cable charging one. Character curves, some really good ones. Lauren, Sharika, and Phoebe. I think they had just like 5 pages long of the character that they chose. The RT to describe that was just a mess, like pages and pages. I mean, they're all a mess, but that one was the biggest one I think I'd seen. Oh, let's see what else. The coil, Kendra had a really nice presentation of this in hers. So check that one out. She had each step in that was ask a question, but she would check with CalcPlot 3D. And then people that are just very thorough in their presentation is Noah, Madeline, and Haley. So please take a look at theirs. Again, I really like Noah will have step-by-step everything. It's very clear. And Madeline, what's neat about hers is she'll always talk about her thought process and like how she got to where she did, what places where she was stumped, and then maybe how she broke through, or if she didn't, like how a tech tool might have helped her. So again, if you're one of those people that's like, hey, I'm just getting by, I'm getting these assignments in, but I really am not going to be ready for that final exam. People to look at, go back through the entire course and check out some of these names that I keep repeating, James and Madeline and Noah and Calvin. Check out their work. It'll be a huge time saver for you when you're studying. Okay, then the calculations, some folks to point out, Kyla's was super clean and clear to see. Calvin, as usual, did all or nearly all problems. Noah, James, Madeline, again, very clear. James had a lot of pictures associated with his, so he would stop, do some calculations, and then check it with the tech tool. Same thing with Phoebe and Haley. Also added pictures throughout, so you can see their thought process. And Madeline did by hand and then used Wolfram Alpha a lot. So please check hers out. Here's our calculations right there. Grant did all of his by hand. He would use a tech tool sometimes, but he didn't like show the screenshots of it, but his is so clean and clear and just thorough. And then my favorite quote this week was Grace on the calculation on the curvature practice page. She said, I had started number 1, but it made me mad. So I just did number 2 instead, smiley face. Yeah, that's the point of these options on the problems is we're trying to, sometimes you do, like we all talked about previously in the discussion, you do want to have that struggle. There's value in that, but enough is enough sometimes when you're trying to do your homework and managing all your other classes and work and family and everything. Okay, so again, really nice job. Just keep on going. We got about a month, and again, we're trying to master this material. All of this is meant to get you to that place by the final exam where you're like, I get it all. It's good. And remember your lifelines to your teammates and your classmates. Have fun with the challenges this week. I think there's some really interesting ones. I look forward to seeing those. All right, until then.